You are now listening to the Divorce Diaries podcast with your host. Well, that's a secret. No names, ages, or any other identifying characteristics will be used as we protect the young and innocent. You'll be taken on a journey as one man considers getting a divorce or remaining married. The Divorce Diaries daily entries chronicle the decision-making processes in real time as they unfold day by day. He hopes to add a bit of clarity to his sometimes muddled mess of a marriage. Cheating, overspending, sex, sadness, and betrayal are the characteristics of this marriage. Is he making the right choice? Welcome to the Divorce Diaries. Entire seasons are released on Patreon weeks before anywhere else at Divorce Diaries Podcast Patreon page. Link below in description. Now for today's episode.
Welcome back to the rebooted Divorce Diaries, where I'm going to still continue to record the thoughts and feelings that I have as I consider getting a divorce or not getting a divorce. But it's from a totally different angle now. It's an angle from a paradigm shift that I've had. One of the things that I think I've done to harm my marriage and many relationships in my life with my children is I realize that I love conditionally, and I don't want to be loved conditionally. That has been a realization of mine that I've just come to, and this is, as I'm recording this is April 28th, 2021. I think it's April, it's not May. No, April 28th, 2021. I understand that I love conditionally, and I understand now that that's not a fair way for anyone to be in a relationship with another person. Granted, there could be things like, hey, the condition of this relationship is that you remain faithful and loyal to me and me alone. And if that condition is broken, then it's over. I'm done with you. But if you are, let's, because this is the Divorce Diaries, but this podcast, I don't think anymore the trajectory is going to be solely about divorce, but it's going to keep the name because that's where it started and that was the impetus for it. But it'll be a little bit more focused on me, well, a lot more focused on me and the things that I've done that I feel have led to me wanting to record the Divorce Diaries. And what am I? Well, right now I'm a husband and I am a father and I'm a son and I'm a brother. So there are things that I've done in each of those relationships, or maybe even things that have been done to me in each of those relationships that may have been done to other people. And the way that I react has been horrible. And the scripts that I'm playing out in my life, like how I was treated by my parents or wasn't treated by my parents or extended family or whatever happened in my life that makes me do the things that I do every day, it could have fucked up some of my marriage. I'm going to be real about it. So since I'm talking about how I know now that I love conditionally, and I'd been told that before, and it had really stuck in my craw because I was really offended initially when I was told by my wife, like, you have conditions on your love. And I'm like, I don't have conditions on my love. It would be an immediate angry response, rebuttal, or if I'm doing the right and respectful thing and I'm like, I'm just going to be quiet and listen to her and I'm going to let her talk while I'm sitting there thinking about what I'm going to say next, how I'm thinking about how I'm going to rebut this assertion that she's made. My wife's free to make that assertion. She's been married to me for all these years. If she says that she feels that I love conditionally, I probably should have listened to that. Because I will say, had I listened to my wife telling me that I love conditionally the first time she hinted at it or said it overtly, and I actually processed it, and I actually looked in the mirror at myself and I said, well, what are the conditions at which I love my wife? Granted, the best thing to do would have been to ask her, can you elaborate further? What do you mean by I love conditionally? Do you think I love you conditionally? What conditions do you think I put on our love or the love that I have for our children? What conditions? Now, I didn't give her a chance to say that. I mean, I think I did, but what I can tell you for sure is I wasn't listening because I was probably so fucking offended that someone that I felt that I did so much for, how dare she say I have conditions on my love after all I do for her. After everything I do, after the life I've provided, after me deciding not to go to school and me doing this and stepping up to the plate as me being a young dad, after everything I did, and everything I do for you, how dare you say I love conditionally? Because after all, I'm the one being used in this scenario. That was my perspective. But I've had a paradigm shift, like I've said, and the conditions that I know that I put on my marriage and the love that I have for my wife. It's like, I'll do all the things, or I'll love you by providing for you and taking care of you. But the condition is that you give me all control and all say. If you asked me to say it in the past, I would have never said, oh yeah, I want all control and all say. I think a condition that I subconsciously put on my love for my wife and my relationship was I will have all say and control and ultimately power. And that condition is going to be levied because I am the breadwinner. I didn't sit down and think it through like that. But looking back, that's exactly what I did, and that's exactly what happened. So let's just pace this out for a second. I will have all control. Well, my wife will feel that she needs to seize control if she doesn't feel that she has any. She will feel that she may need to seize control over things that are, let's say, in my eyes at the time, less than productive or a quote unquote waste of time. Like, I don't know. I'm trying to think of something that has happened. My wife's purchased a lot of things online, and she would make a lot of redundant purchases, like a food mixer, but then a food blender that also mixed. And then I would say something like, hey, can we get rid of the blender since you just brought the blender mixer that does both? No, I don't want to keep both. So then my condition would be, I will seize more control since you're going to continue to buy things and waste money, quote unquote, waste money. I'm going to seize more control, which just in turn made her seize more control. And that all started with my condition on our love. My condition was control. I will provide for you if you let me control you. Now, I feel good because I'm not Hitler. So I know what I was thinking at the time, and what I was thinking was not anything like, I am going to control and dominate this person. And here are the ways that I'm going to do that. Never once. Never once. But that still doesn't give me clean hands, because that's still what I did. I just am looking for a little bit of a silver lining and not to beat myself up. And what I encourage anybody to do that's listening, don't beat yourself up and rake yourself over the fucking hot coals because of shit you did in the past if you know that the motivation you had was not a bad motivation. Now, if your motivation was bad, fucking jump off a cliff. I don't know what the fuck to tell you. You're a horrible person. Because if you actually went out of your way to hurt your wife, kids, other people that loved you in your life, you strategically and overtly and purposefully hurt them, fucking swallow a bottle. I don't know what to tell you to do because I don't want to get this podcast banned. But do some shit that hurts you to yourself because you fucked up people. And then I can think about my oldest, my son. I think my condition with him was, I will love you and I will take you to all your sporting events and teach you how to play this sport if you do what I tell you to do and you comply in the exact way that I want you to, or at least the exact way that I'm verbalizing to you that I want you to. So because of that condition that I had, that he needed to do it my way or he could hit. Sorry for the big delay, and I might sound a little bit different right now, but that's because the recording stopped and I needed to go back and re-record. I was going to pick up here with my son, and I was going to pick up with the conditions that I put on the love that I had for him. Now, the condition that my son had, the worst condition possible, is when the condition is put on you by your parent who has absolute control over you to do things my way or there's the highway. That's what I had. with my son. And I taught him how to play a sport. And since I had this energy of it's got to be my way or the highway, well, when was my son ever going to be allowed to come up with his own way of doing things and actually run it through the filter of his father, whether it is a good idea or not a good idea? I had a condition that it's my way or the highway. If the idea didn't come 100% or mostly from me, his father, and my brain, anything that he thought was wrong. No matter what, it was absolutely wrong. So he had to come up with this caricature of himself to please me, his father. So he wasn't ever able to authentically be himself. I remember when he was growing up, there's a show that we used to watch a lot. It's a really great show, Malcolm in the Middle. And Malcolm was a very smart kid, and he was called a Krellboyne. I don't know what Krellboyne really means, but once I describe to you why he was called the Krellboyne, you'll kind of understand. Oh, a Krellboyne kind of means like jerk, or I'm sorry, not jerk, but nerd or dweeb or like genius or egghead or something like that, some other insult to that effect. So Malcolm was really smart, and he was in the regular class at his school. And the teacher recognized how smart he was and how good he was at stuff, and she decided to recommend him for the smart class. And the smart class, they over-exaggerated on the show because the show was a comedy. It's a family comedy, so the exaggeration that they put on the show was the kids are walking around with mittens. They've got real bad like some kids are like scratching themselves all the time, or they're chewing on their fingernails, climbing on the walls. They're totally socially inept. They basically painted every kid like a child with some autistic characteristic is how they did it. It wasn't just, oh, these kids are just smarter. No, they painted them as like there is literally something wrong with the wiring in these kids. And the whole school called those kids the Krellboyne class. This is the class of the Krells or the Krellboynes, whatever that means. But just the oddballs, the weirdos, the really smart kids, the kids that don't have a place amongst the regular kids or common society. And I made a joke not realizing the condition that I had on my son and the conditions that I gave him by, it's my way or the highway. If it's not my idea, it's a bad idea. And he had to be some other version of himself, which, one, my son was, he's a very cool kid. He's got swagger, he's good looking, he's athletically built, he's talented, he's charismatic, he knows how to do things that regular people don't know how to do. Like he can compose music and he's got an ear for those things. And like he has these real innate talents, and he also has talents that he's cultivated. So he's, and skills, that he's cultivated. But I had a condition on love with him that just made it seem like all those great things that I said about him just now, he had no fucking idea. Or he had somewhat of an idea, but with my condition of it's got to be my way or the highway, he was always in a conflicted position. He either had to be exactly what I wanted in some fake way, or, geez, I didn't even think of this. Worse still, what if he had a better way to do something and he could show me, if he felt that I was actually going to be open to his new way, better way of doing something, he could show it to me, and he could almost like bring this success, like, hey, Dad, check it out. That thing that thing that we've been doing this way, like, check it out. This is a new way. And I would say, holy crap, great job. Let me do it that way. I've done it a couple times, but it was really few and far between because of my condition of the love that I made my son feel. And right now, my son and I, we're not speaking because it took me too long to find out and figure out that I actually do love conditionally. I didn't want to accept that. I didn't want to take that medicine because I used a different metric. No, I pay for things. I run myself all over town for you and all of the tournaments you've played in. Nope. I. More eyes. That's just what I did. That's what I laid at the feet of my very young son. And that's why my much older son doesn't want to talk to me right now. It's not his fault. It's mine. It hurts. And his hands aren't clean. He's done some things, said some things he shouldn't have. But who knows if he ever would have done and said the things that he did had I not created the conditional love arrangement between he and I. My hands are far dirtier than his are. My hands are far dirtier than his will ever be. I didn't realize that with one of my other kids, I had a condition maybe, still. With this one, you're on my side, right? I guess. I don't know. I haven't thought this through. This is me right now just blabbing into this diary entry. This kid just really is a lot like me. This kid is really takes the moral high ground. This kid wants to protect those around them that they love and that they care about with reckless abandon. This kid is very protective. This kid is a lot like me. This kid is also stubborn. And when this kid sees something their way, it's their way. And because I've created a condition on that love, the condition I think I had was, oh yeah, so we're on the same team, right? So almost like I'll fuck with you as long as we're on the same team. So this kid now, I think, because of that condition that I may have on our relationship, this kid's like, oh, well, so you only want to talk to me when we're on the same page. So you don't like dissent. So this kid now wants to stand her ground very firmly. When the kid is right, she's standing her ground. When the kid's wrong, she's standing her ground. When the kid doesn't have an opinion, she's standing her ground. Whatever my opinion is, the kid's going against it. It's my fault. Because I am a conditional lover. I'm a lover that took the conditions of our relationship and said, okay, fine. These are going to be my conditions. You know, I'll talk to you when you're on my side. Oh, well, I won't talk to you when you're not on my side. Oh, okay, well, It's hard. It's a really hard pill to swallow when you understand that your flaws and the way that you've chosen me, the way that I choose to be, the fact that I choose to love conditionally, what that does to the people that I love. It doesn't give them any freedom. It doesn't help them. It creates sometimes what I'm finding, it creates we can't jump this. This is a gap that we can't bridge. This is unfixable because you conditionally love me. This is not a situation where it's like, hey, if I decide to go to school for basket weaving, will you love me? Of course I'll love you. What if I drop out of school for basket weaving? Will you love me? Oh, Jesus Christ. But yeah, I'll love you. Well, what if I want to backpack through Europe? Will you love me? I'll love you. Okay, now I feel like you're just fucking testing me. What's the most ridiculous things that I can fucking do with my life, knowing you know that I don't want you to do those things, but I had to have a paradigm shift and I had to say, it is not about me. How selfish and arrogant and controlling could I be where I actually want to say, oh, I'm going to, while I'm living my life, that is wholly fucking out of order. While I'm while I'm in my messed up marriage, I'm going to tell you how you should be married and how you should be in a relationship. Just because I may have something else going on, because I'm like, oh, yeah, well, I'm doing pretty good financially. So because I'm doing good in this one little area of my life, you should listen to me in every other area, as I conditionally love you. And when you don't listen to me, I'm going to penalize you or something, somehow, with some sort of repercussion, or I pull my love back, or I pull my resources back, or whatever it is. I don't really know. But conditional love is what I do. And I'm a piece of shit for it. I'm trying to fix it. And maybe this divorce diary entry should end like, who would want to be married to me? A conditional lover.
Wow! That was the Divorce Diaries podcast. The Daily Saga will continue tomorrow. The full season's episodes are on Patreon now. Subscribe for early access. Click the Patreon link in the description. Hopefully, these entries help our anonymous recorder as a form of his own personal therapy. That's his hope and his intention. Will these recordings of life's curveballs lead this family to the best resolution in the end? We'll keep listening. New episodes are released daily on all podcast players, but all episodes are available on Patreon at Divorce Diaries Podcast Patreon page. Until next time.